to the third episode in our webinar playbook series. Today, we are talking about a pain point every marketer has faced. That is, getting people who have signed up to actually show up in the event. And I'm thrilled to have Shambhavi back again with me. She's not just someone who knows demand gen inside and out, but has actually cracked the code on audience intent, driving that pipeline and actually bringing the people show up in the webinar. Shambhavi, thank you so much for joining us again. Let's just start here. Most teams are still judged by registrations as the North Star, but show rates are different beast, I would say. What do you see happening when teams focus too much on registration volumes versus registration quality?
Yeah, I think when you choose or you chase registration volume over quality, you end up filling the room with people who were never really your audience. Basically, this just means lower show up rates to start with, lower engagement, and then you have a sales team that's chasing cold leads. I've seen a couple of events where there was a high number of signups, but a single digit attendance, right? So the ROI was really low because the energy and follow up went to the wrong people. So I think basically it's helped to build topics or to build our outreach around our ideal candidate profile, even if that meant fewer signups, because it gave us packed sessions with the right people and far richer conversations. So yeah, I think definitely this is 100% non-ambiguous answer where you choose quality over just registration volume.
That's so true. And in fact, I've seen it too. Sometimes you walk away with a list of 800 signups, but barely maybe 120 or 150 people show up. And a lot of them do not remember the topic too later. It's almost like we are over optimizing from acquisition and under investing into activation of those who are joining and not showing up maybe. So let's now get into the flow and let's get into the how. Everyone talks about these multi-channel promotions, but if you had to pick your battlegrounds, what actually is moving the needle for you?
Okay, so I'll start by first answering on what we do and then by possibly making a pick. What we do for our large scale events, like the HR playbook, that's one event that I work on. We do a mix of organic and inorganic. Our organic is LinkedIn, our Shape of Work Slack community, newsletters, and our inorganic is our paid ads. So we do cover all our bases, but we double down on what works for us. Out of these, what really works for us, especially in terms of organic, is our newsletter. This gets us the highest number of registrations, and it's basically because our newsletter is very closely tied to our community, and our community is our biggest asset. So that is one thing that has worked really well for us, and that is something that I would pick if I have to. And of course, for the large scale event, paid ads have also worked quite well for us. Something that we've recently observed is our video ads have shown us some really good results, but it's only been a couple of iterations, so we have to wait to see if we can conclude absolute success. But yeah, that is something that we've now started to try more because it's show. Yeah, and for the not such large scale events, we basically use mostly organic promotions.
And just one thing that I want to share with our audience is that we even tried promoting some of our sessions through the Slack communities. While the CTR is lower, the audience quality is often insane, like 60% show rate types. And it really reinforces what you said about different channels, the newsletters, and the way they have been working. This is another way. It has really helped us at Airmeet to work towards it. Now, one of the biggest drops I see, Shambhavi, is between people clicking through and people actually registering. So what are some of maybe the lesser known tactics to optimize this and go beyond the basics?
Just as I started on this, there was just one thing that you said that I wanted to pick up on and link it to this. But like what you said about Slack communities, like I said, we have a very large Slack community, and that's been phenomenal for us. But the reason the newsletter works is also because sometimes there is so much within a Slack community that even interested people can miss it. It's constantly moving. But the newsletter is like a concentrated one-off collection of all everything that's already moving really fast in the Slack community. And I think that's why it really helps people to be able to register their interest through something like this. So just something that I want to highlight when it came to these two channels. Now, in terms of people clicking, then actually registering, I think what works for us is to be very mindful with content. What we do is we split information. There is a landing page, but not everything has to be on the landing page. The really high magnetic stuff. So according to us, that is definitely the speakers in the agenda. That's high up at the MP. We have a banner, and Airmeet has this a landing page where you can have a banner right at the top of the page. So we make sure that the banner has speaker images. This sounds really simple, but I think it works on a much deeper level. People might not even know the names of these speakers right now, but they have this trust that a bunch of these people have got together for this event for my benefit, and it incites their curiosity. So there's this visual communication happening. Then, like I said, we have information on the speakers as well as the agenda. For me, again, I think agenda is, everyone might have different opinions, but for me, agenda is a really important part of the process of setting up an event. Then a lot of the other communication, where tone changes according to different audiences. Your appeals that you're generating for different kinds of audiences change. Some people might want to come for the networking. Some people might respond more to a slightly maybe sassy appeal of communication, just an example. But then all of this, which is also important, goes into other distribution phrase. So the pre-click phrase. I think a lot of time the trouble happens when we have maybe too much on one page and it's not resonating with any one kind of reader or potential attendee. And that's why the clicks don't happen. So mainly, yeah, I think the last thing is just balance is important. We want to be concise because, like we've spoken in a previous episode, attention spans are dwindling. But you can't, for example, leave out important information in your registration form. People might drop off because they're like, they just don't want to fill the form, right? We also get annoyed. But this is what we spoke about in terms of quality over registration volume. The balance has to be that if something is important for your long-term goals, for the kind of information you need from your attendees, it has to be on the form, and sometimes you will lose out.
I love that you called out the visual communication, because in today's time I have this experience myself that just bringing the speaker face on the banners in the email or the graphics that you're sharing on the social media creates a huge of a difference. Even if people are not registering the click throughs and going to at least reading at the page what the speaker is going to talk about, the company name, that makes a huge of a difference. Now let's talk about the window between the registration and the event day. This for me is a warm lead zone. How do you keep the intent alive without, I would say, annoying the registrants?
Very valid question. I think people do get annoyed, but it's also really important to remember that if you don't make certain efforts, people will forget. Mostly registration happens because you have an initial inclination that you want to attend. But I think a delicate balance is definitely just the answer. You have to be persistent to be on top of mind. Otherwise, goldfish memories happen. But of course, I think just this like a cadence or a rhythm of the kind of time that you spend in sending, let's say, these emails really works. We use emails, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, and Slack. So across these, use these, like you said, keeping them warm efforts across these. And in our reminder emails, which we send through Airmeet, our event platform, we have some must-haves. So, for example, we'll have one email on networking possibilities at the event, one on what's special about the speakers, one on what's special about the agenda. And of course, the speakers one mostly ends up becoming more, 2 or 3 even, because we might want to tell a little bit more about them. We might want to make it a little quirky. Then maybe we'll have one interaction seeking email to create that recall value. So like an icebreaker email where we ask a question saying, what are you looking forward to at XYZ event? And people do answer. So just to give a sense of what that cadence is like, towards the end, this frequency increases. So it becomes an almost daily or even twice a daily thing. Other people might choose to do it differently, but this is what we follow and it has worked for us. So yeah, similar for LinkedIn also and Slack. So we do some countdown posts. The only thing with LinkedIn that differs is that we use more imagery and videos. We ask our speakers to share creatives from their profile talking about the event. So that trust value is there. We ask them to share some videos. Lastly, with WhatsApp, we reserve that for the very last minute, just very to the point, reminders very close to the event. And this is what has helped us ensure that conversion.
Lot of things that you shared is, in fact, we have also been doing at Airmeet in all the events. And one thing that we recently did was send a short loom video from the speaker the day before of the event, and he just saying in the video, hey, here's why I am excited about this event, here's something I'm going to talk about, here's my experience. A very short video, very super casual, but the show rate, Shambhavi, actually jumped by 20% for that specific event. And that helped me understand that people want to feel like they're part of something live and not just attending another recording session. And the other point that you talked about, like asking in advance that what they look forward to, any questions they might have for the speaker, and then sharing those questions with the speaker. And on the day of the event, when they are there and they hear those questions being answered, that makes huge of a difference because they know that they signed up for something really meaningful.
Yeah, completely.
Okay, so now let's just close this with something raw. What is the reason people show up that most teams miss? And what is that reason they don't and the people might overlook?
Okay, so again, very simple answer for this, according to me. The reason they show up, number one, good speakers or great speakers. Number two, I'll be very honest, I think FOMO is also a big reason. So for large scale events, for example, with certificates, they might want to post it on LinkedIn. There's that pleasure of sharing that certificate and summarizing what they've learned. The number three reason I think is actually creative or intelligent reminders that help them show up. And I think I loved what you said about them knowing, okay, this is something live, it's a live session. That word live is key because right now we're in an era where everything we're reading has n dashes. It's AI, there is so much. And as much as I use and I love AI, there is this repetition, something slightly stagnant also, which is why when you see images of speakers, their faces, you see a video where a person is talking, it makes a lot of difference. So yeah, these are basically why I think they show up. In my opinion, the biggest reason that they don't show up is if the event communication has just lost steam. So yeah.
Greatly explained, Shambhavi. This was the last section for today's episode. And I would just say that it was really packed with insights, great experiences that you shared. Thank you so much for sharing the real stuff and not just that bookish things that everyone is just using. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Next week, we'll be coming up with episode 4. And until then, just go beyond an event that people can't just scroll past and create something meaningful. And people actually, after registering, look forward to showing up with all those engagement things, the event, the nurtures, and everything you'll be doing before the event. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you, Shambhavi.